The best cheap loadouts in Arena Breakout. Phase 1, SPR with armor piercing slugs. You can use this loadout until 460k, and this is optimal for basic maps. You can use it to rush players or just camp. If you want to rush players, you should use the Flechette Buckshot so that you can hipfire. The armor piercing slug is only for ADS. Slug hipfire is very inaccurate. Research data on all these weapons, spreadsheet and videos linked in description. The reason you use armor piercing tier 3 in these loadouts is because you want to develop the muscle memory for aiming at the head when you use higher tier ammo, and most players only have tier 3 or 4 on this map, so it's viable. And if you hit them in the face shield, then it's optimal. On tier 3 armor, it's one shot to the chest with the shotgun, and on a tier 4 face shield that usually has tier 3, it's one shot to that face shield. It's about 4 shots to a tier 4 vest and 3 to a leg, so anyone who's tier 4 or above, you just want to aim for their legs. Though on basic maps, you should never encounter that tier of enemies. Phase 2, MP5 with tier 3 ammo. The reason you use MP5 over Vector is because you want to be able to have the extra range for ADS, and the difference is not that huge in the close range. It is about 100 milliseconds slower than the Vector. This loadout still has a very cheap running cost of 34.8k, so it is viable for all basic maps. You have the extra range and reliability and hipfire over the lower SBR tier. You want to use this loadout until you have 1 million coin. Phase 3, AKM. This loadout costs a bit more at 96k, though you have tier 3 and tier 4 ammo, a little bit of tier 4. Against the equivalent armor tier, so tier 4 ammo versus tier 4 armor, it kills in 100 milliseconds, and tier 3 ammo versus tier 3 armor is the same. And tier 3 ammo versus tier 4 armor is around 6 to 8 shots, though that is still one shot to the tier 3 phase shield that is on most tier 4 armored players. And for comparison, the AKM with HP rounds at 6 shots to kill is 516 ms time to kill. So that would be about the same against a tier 4 4x using tier 3 ammo. With this loadout, the running cost is 43k. It's probably less if you encounter not many enemies. You'll use a lot less of your supplies, and you have a backpack to loot and a tier 4 armored rig, so you have more safety if you encounter players that are not using tier 4 ammo, which is most players on these basic maps. Most will have tier 0 to 2 or 3 ammo. You want to use this loadout until you have 2 million coin. The reason that AKM is viable in comparison to the FAL, it kills in 100 milliseconds and the FAL is around 87 milliseconds, so it is very competitive at the tier 3 and tier 4 ammo, and the weapon is cheaper. It is 13 milliseconds slower than the FAL time to kill. Speaking of, if you're looking for a higher tier loadout to go to Armory and more advanced maps once you have more than 2 million coin, watch this video here to learn about the higher tier loadouts. I have made some adjustments to the FAL 200k tier. The 926 Field Backpack was changed to be way more expensive, so it is not viable in that tier anymore. I have adjusted that to be the XA4 or Large Camping. Also, I realized that it is better to have the tier 3 armor piercing ammo over 300 UN ammo with the FAL, so I have made that adjustment as well. Which is because you want to train your muscle memory to aim for the head like I mentioned before, and most of the bots will have tier 3 armor. The reason I replaced the S4K tier with the MP5 is because it has way more versatility and reliability in hipfire and more range, while still maintaining a very cheap running cost. I added the AKM tier so there's a midpoint between the MP5 and the FAL that is viable to loot on lower tier maps and only has a running cost of 43k and it's only 13 milliseconds slower than the FAL. And the weapon is a lot cheaper than the FAL. Thank you for watching.